Good and good afternoon. Welcome to the Natural Resources and Open Spaces Subcommittee of the Environment and Transportation Committee. We have three bills that we will be speaking on today: HB 247, HB 578, and HB 533. Let's start with HB 533, if that'll be the easiest for us right now. Here's my notes. HB 533 is the Mel Nolan Woodland Incentives and Fellowship Fund reporting. And as I understand, Kristen, is this you?
This one's mine.
Okay, want to go ahead?
Sure. So House Bill 533 is adding a reporting requirement relating to the Mel Nolan Woodland Incentives and Fellowship Fund. This comes out of a recent audit that found that certain agricultural land transfer tax revenue attributable to woodlands, the full amount was not being deposited into the fund. So this would create a reporting requirement where DNR would report annually on how much tax revenue is transferred to the fund, and as well as whether if there's any uncertainties to the total amount, and if there are uncertainties, what actions are required to resolve those uncertainties.
And that is essentially a bill. I was triple checking to see if there were any amendments. I don't believe.
No amendments. We have the House, the Senate cross-file passed today, I think, on third reading. Clean.
Okay. Well, in that case, are there any questions about this particular bill? Any thoughts, any opinions, any concerns? No. Is there a desire to move this bill?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Is there a second? Hold on one second. Delegate Grammer, do you have a question?
Second.
Okay. Moved in second. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor of reporting HB 533 favorably signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Bill reported favorably to the full committee. We can go to, I think the critical areas folks are here. So do you want to go to 247, Patrick?
Yes, this is House Bill 247, one of the critical area departmental bills. This alters the variance processes in the critical area, including the appeals process and the de novo hearings from the administrative officer. And then it also sort of homogenizes variance processes throughout the state. I'm sorry, I'm blanking a little bit here. For the application process, and then for accessory structures and the like. Trying to think, does two main things.
Yeah.
Establishes a rebuttable presumption for
Yes.
new accessory structures and uses, and then prohibits a local jurisdiction from accepting a variance application for uses that are not allowed in a critical area, that adjust the amount or type of mitigation required and provide relief that could be obtained through an available administrative process. And then the applicant must demonstrate a substantial need for the variance, not based on convenience, personal preference, or financial advantage. And then the applicant also has to demonstrate that it can't be located outside of a habitat protection area, if that's the case.
Right. I think the one thing I had to look up, because I guess I don't know if it's a legal term, but I didn't know it was the rebuttable presumption, and kind of what that meant as it related to all of this. But I think Eric is on the call. I know that this is, maybe there was like a recent case, and what this does is just codifies essentially some of the ruling in the case. Eric?
That's correct, Madam Chair. The logic behind the bill was to install the case law that's built up throughout the life of the critical area program, right in the statute itself, to help local jurisdictions implement the expectations that are already on the books.
Before I ask any question, any questions about this particular bill? I think we're going to hold it for a little bit just generally, but I just wanted to have a general discussion about it because it was a little hard to get through, and then I got through it. I was like, I see, because I think I missed this hearing.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
While we have Eric, he has worked with Mako to come to a consensus. You might want to have him describe that.
Oh, what is that, Eric?
Sure. Again, thank you, Madam Chair. Mako had expressed some concerns. There's a couple places in the bill where we tried to clarify the process for approving a variance for an accessory structure. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that accessory structure and accessory dwelling unit sound very similar.
Oh.
So our amendments, we never intended to capture accessory dwelling units or other primary dwellings in this bill. So the amendments that we came to consensus with Mako on make it very clear that accessory dwelling units are not subject to the standards in this bill.
Okay.
And I think Meredith has a reprint if you want to bring it up.
Okay. Meredith, can you bring up the reprint for us, please?
And it has been provided to the members of the subcommittee.
Yes. Scroll down. And Eric, was it in more than one place or just one place?
Two places. So what you're seeing on the screen there is the first one. So that's the rebuttable presumption section that you were describing earlier. Mm-hmm. And then I believe the second is on the following page. Yep, line 15 there, where we provide more clarity on what the comparison test is to other properties. Again, saying that this level of a comparison should only apply to accessory structures like a deck, garage, not an accessory dwelling unit.
Yeah. Accessory structures. Okay. Oh, where am I? Are there any questions while we have Eric to talk this out? And can you actually talk about, I'm sorry, Delegate Jacobs.
All right, now. So Eric, did these amendments fully satisfy Mako?
Yes, Delegate.
And how about
written confirmation?
How about NAOP?
We have not successfully connected with NAOP. We are aware that they have concerns. We've reached out. We have not received a response at this point.
All right. And Madam Chair, you say you're going to hold this bill for a little bit longer?
Yes, sir. I just wanted us to have discussion on it and be kind of familiarize ourselves with what was happening with the bill and the need for the bill and the reason for the bill.
Yeah, because it does, I got scenarios in my district that would certainly fall under these this bill, and also the concerns of this bill. So,
well, I appreciate that. I think if I've read this bill correctly in the fiscal note and the testimony is that really, and I guess I should ask Eric, how long, when you said this was case law over the years, how long have they kind of been doing, going back to see that essentially it sounds like what folks were doing were getting out of complying by maybe giving reasons that were not reasonable to comply with the critical areas protections program. Is
Oh,
how I
that's-
read it.
That's correct. We've attached to our testimony was the list of cases that we used to construct the bill, and those some are as recent as 2016. Some of them go back to the late 1990s. Trying to put them all in one place.
Got it. Got it. Any other questions about this? I guess I got one other question just about, because I know we had a general bill last year from Prince George's County where the owner had to pay the cost for the prior owner's violations of the critical areas protection program, and the county kind of held them liable, although they weren't the ones that did the cutting of the trees, and it was some bushes and wetlands, but they had to pay an exorbitant amount of money. And I think we amended some of the programmatic law to allow the jurisdiction to, I guess, having it fall back on the jurisdiction should something happen. And in what am I trying to say? Winning in the case the jurisdiction has made the mistake, the mistake has to be rectified by the local jurisdiction. Am I remembering that particular case correctly?
That was the basic gist. I think the bill was tailored very narrowly to that specific
Right.
Jurisdiction and a place and time.
Right. But in the same way with this bill, whether it's people are purposefully trying to get around the requirements or they don't know, I guess I often worry about folks just generally not knowing whether it's when they either purchase property, they don't get information saying that it may be in the critical areas and therefore do what they want. And I just don't remember how folks are notified or at least know that they're in the area before we do. Like how would they otherwise know? And I don't remember if it was a deed process or.
When you buy a house in the critical area, you do have to sign as part of the admittedly large pile of papers that you have to sign notice that the house you're buying is in the critical area.
Okay.
And if I could, Madam Chair, just to add on to that, based on the direction from you and the committee last year, we've been actively working with the Real Estate Commission on their disclosure form to enhance that. And we're optimistic we're going to see some changes there.
Awesome. That makes me happy.
And they were going to let us know when that happens. I'm waiting for regulations to go through.
Perfect. And what organization was that again? The real estate?
Lisa has the exact title, but I believe it's the Maryland Real Estate Commission. Lisa or Patrick, do I have that right?
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay. All right. If there are no other questions or concerns, we got your concerns, Delegate Jacobs. If you have anything else, if this how this affects your area or your folks.
Well, as part of NAOP's concerns in the second paragraph when it talks about reasonable and significant rebuttal presumption and reasonable significant use. And it talks about older accessory structures such as critical area piers and boathouses could automatically block applicants from even demonstrating the need for a variance. Presumption under these circumstances is not supported by recent case law and would impose unnecessary barriers to redeveloping commercial and industrial properties. So,
Yeah,
that's a lot of that in my district. Okay. And it's my concern.
Okay. Eric, can you respond to that?
Sure. A couple things. I think a boathouse or a pier, frankly, would probably be an excellent example of how to rebut the presumption. because those are water dependent facilities. They would not require a variance on their own, and that's not the kind of thing that we would look to be burdening a property with. So there is no automatic denial. It's all rebuttable presumption. I think that would provide a good reason why. We did, in response to NIOP's concerns, go back and look at our variance files, and variance requests for commercial redevelopment are exceedingly rare. And that is because they are usually located in areas, if we're talking about redevelopment, they've been developed. So they're usually in a developable category of land use in the critical area, and often in a modified buffer area, which has reduced environmental restrictions. So these are very rare cases, but we'd be happy to look into the delegates' cases in particular, if that would be helpful.
Delegate Jacobs, would that be helpful to you? You're on mute, sir.
Yeah, I mean, that it's, the cases like this are relevant in my district.
Yes, and he's saying that if there is a case, he said it's rare that it would happen, but there are cases where it has happened. They would like to know so they can assist. So if you can get.
Well, I don't have any off the top of my head right this
Sure.
second, but
That's fair.
believe me, there are cases, and I always hear from these constituents when they run into these issues, and also it kind of couples up with the living shoreline issues sometimes too. So just more that has to be worked out.
Okay. All right. Well, yes, I appreciate that. It also sounds like it's a rarity that it happens in those cases. So we should probably, as those cases come up, get notification to them as soon as possible so they can clear it up, because it's sounds like it's null and void. If there are no other questions, we will move to House Bill 578.
My hometown's 318 years old, so we have some.
Yeah.
We have some older cases back there.
Yeah. House Bill 578, Fish and Wildlife Endangered and Threatened Species and Migratory Birds Regulations List Petitions, Essential Habitats and Takings. And this bill essentially codifies federal law. We are codifying federal law as it relates to how we list endangered species, and most importantly, how we delist or declassify endangered and threatened species. I was about to say Delegate Patrick. Patrick.
Well, yes, it does. The bill does get into listing and delisting of species. It also changes the definition of harm, which in regulation has includes significant habitat modification, puts that into the statute. That is, as we're told by the sponsor, that is how the federal government has interpreted it for decades and is no longer doing so. That's what all of this bill is doing, is trying to go back to previous federal interpretations. And then it deals with migratory birds, which the federal law is going back and not considering incidental takes as a problem anymore. And this is, putting it into state law that that incidental takes, are
Right.
problematic, are prohibited as well. Now, of course, we do have some permits for incidental takes, but that's not really relevant here. And then we talked about.
I guess the one quick question I have is, do federal regulations actually use the word foreseeable future?
I do not know the answer to that question.
Because and I know it's defined in the bill, but it's such an interesting term, but. And I believe it's every 10 years, and thereafter the secretary reviews and if warranted, updates the regulation required under the section.
The listings, correct,
Yeah. It's a
which is
foreseeable,
apparently the current process.
right, yes. Foreseeable future means as far into the future as a department can reasonably, can make reasonable, reliable predictions on a case-by-case basis about the threats to a species of fish and the species response to those threats. And then they list out those using data, taking into account considerations like life history characteristics, projected time frame of the threat, and environmental variability. And then harm means an act that kills or injures any species of fish. Delegate Jacobs.
All right, two things. Has anyone addressed the concerns of the Farm Bureau with the black vultures? In their letter of information, they didn't support nor against the bill, but they had a letter of information that there's a big concern about so it does not restrict, delay, or otherwise limit producibility, access, and utilize a critical permit for
Right.
The sponsor
black
is
vulture
working on
decreditation.
amendments,
Yeah, she is.
and I
What-
can only guess that that's what she's working at.
What was that, Patrick?
The sponsor is working on amendments for the bill,
Okay.
and
Didn't have them ready.
this is the only area where somebody, raised the possibility of an amendment. So
Okay.
I'm guessing
And
that
the
that's what she's working on.
other thing is, if you recall last year, I passed a bill,
Incidental taking of bats,
the
bat
bat bill.
ban.
So, you got taking in this definition. And so what does that mean when on incidental takings?
It means that if they had to do an incidental taking, like the bats, they would have to get a permit to do an incidental taking. Isn't that, so Patrick?
Yeah, isn't that what your bill did, Delegate Jacobs?
Yeah, but I just want to make sure this doesn't foul that bill up.
No,
No.
because
No.
our law allows for the incidental taking permit. That still stands. This doesn't touch that.
All right, so this doesn't override that.
Oh, that's a good point.
Or for the other species that we have incidental taking. I think the Delmarva fox squirrel.
Yep, that's on there too.
I think the Puritan tiger beetle too.
Yep, there's one of them up in Cecil County.
Mhm.
Correct. Cecil and Calvert.
That's right.
I think the bill allows also for habitat areas, designating areas as essential habitats for endangered or threatened species.
Mhm.
But
Hey, boys, I have this the summary of amendments if you'd like me to put them up.
oh, she sent them to you.
She
Okay.
did.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, it's just, yeah, she starts by, she's addressing the Farm Bureau's concerns about their existing black vulture permit. The amendment will add uncodified language to make clear that the existing federal taking permits aren't impacted by the bill. So good job, Jay Jacobs. I remember DNR also asked for language around on habitat designation to indicate that they can address implementation programmatically. And then the Migratory Treaty Act bill was drafted. Okay. So yeah, there was a concern about the Migratory Treaty Act. So I guess the Ornithological Society, I think that I said that right, has the correct language for that. So I guess next week we'll have we'll have those exact amendments, and then we can go through it and see how this cleans it up, and hopefully Jay Jacobs will feel comfortable that his bats will be safe, the bats in the bat caves.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can we ask Lydia if she has sent us
Yes.
the amendments?
Oh, Lydia, you're on. Hey, Lydia.
Hi, I have not sent you all the amendments. We had worked with the bill sponsor to put those in, but I can get those to you once I speak with her office.
Okay.
So Lydia, did you hear my concerns?
I did, yes. And from our understanding, that's a federal permit. So I think, we're happy to clarify that in the bill if it addresses the Farm Bureau's concern. From our understanding, when we spoke with our AG's office, this bill shouldn't impact that, but we're happy to,
Well, we need to make sure it's clear.
heard.
And also, it doesn't impact the bill from last year on the bats.
Copy.
Thank you.
Yep.
So it sounds like regardless, the language will be clarified, even if there's no effect. Any other questions? Thoughts, opinions? So when we have the amendments next week for this bill, we'll go back through it. We'll go back through it and then make a decision about whether or not the committee would like to move the bill. Any parting words? Any thoughts? I'm sorry, Madam Vice Chair, did you say something?
I'm fine, sorry.
Okay, just making sure. Well, with that, we are done. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Thank you.